You're listening to Becoming Big, an interview series where we explore mentorship in youth throughout the Southwest Michigan area. Today with me is former Big Brother Justin from Wisconsin. We'll be talking about his experience as a longtime mentor and how it has impacted his life. Justin, thank you so much for being with us here today.
I appreciate you having me and the chance to share my experience and maybe entice some folks to get involved themselves.
Absolutely. We just kind of ran into each other out at a community event, and you had mentioned that you had a long time match out in Wisconsin. And so I definitely wanted to have you come in here and be able to share that experience. I know that even in just getting to know you a little bit leading up to this, I think it's a very fun story and a really good example of a match that is not as intimidating as some people might think the experience is.
Yeah, I mean, I still count it as one of the most enriching experiences of my life, and anything I can do to kind of dispel myths with folks about what the match experience is like, or show them the things that you really kind of gain and grow as a person from the match experience. Always happy to share.
Absolutely. Well, going off of that, give us a little introduction about just who you are and kind of the highlights about your match.
Sure. I work for a big nonprofit called the American Red Cross. You may have heard of them. I'm out here in Kalamazoo now, but for the time that I was I was out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so other side of Lake Michigan. And I was looking for professional and looking for that familial connection. I grew up around a big family, and that just wasn't as present in my life in Milwaukee. And I had doing various volunteer things over the years, but thought that there could be an opportunity here to mentor. I know about 3.5 things. Maybe I could share 1 or 2 of those 3.5 things with someone in a different place in life than me, and also gain some of the familial kind of feel good and connections and perspective. And in doing some homework, getting to know the Big Brothers organization out there, they asked a lot of great questions and really got to know me, and really matched me up with someone that it couldn't have been better, and ended up being a relationship for not just the match time, but someone I still hold close in my life well after the match time has completed.
Absolutely, because it's been a bit of there's been some time in between when you've kind of ended your match officially with the organization, but you still keep in touch with your little brother.
Right. His full name is Abraham. It goes by Ham. And matched with him right around his 11th birthday. And in fact, he's a fraternal twin. And they matched his brother at the same time too. And both myself and Chad, the big, were matched with both Toro boys through high school through their graduation. I just would mention they did such a great job in that interview process. So Ham is this really kind of gregarious, artsy, kind of wears his heart on his sleeve type. I'm very similar in a lot of ways. Sure. Whereas Ham's brother is much more analytical, kind of a gamer, a little more of an introvert, and Chad, the match there, very much the same, was in software, and they'd go on geocaching things where Ham and I would go to maybe the art museum, and so they just did a great job of assessing who we were as people, but also who even at 11 years old, having a pretty good idea of who the kind of personality type there. Yeah. And that did right by us for a lot of years through what is the ups and downs of any relationship, but there was a lot of things that held true in our personalities, and yeah, it made for a very rewarding experience in lots of ways.
Absolutely. Just kind of at the beginning stages, what drew you to the volunteering with Big Brothers Big Sisters? I know that it often looks different for other people, but there's so many different opportunities to get involved with your community. What was that kind of draw to this organization specifically?
I think it's distinct. I mean, that's certainly something that was compelling to me, that there was a distinct way you could be involved in someone's life. There's lots of, so that comes with responsibility, right?
Absolutely.
That comes with obligation. And so I knew that going in, and I learned to kind of roll with it. That's one of the things I would say, the flexibility and kind of rolling with another family's life is really important. That was something I learned early on. And you also kind of have to advocate for your time with both the big brother side of things as well as with the family to make sure that it's a priority as much as it can be with lots of other things going on. But I knew I wanted something more involved. And so, I think coming at it up front, knowing that you're going to have a more engaging experience the more you put into it, is something that it definitely paid dividends for me personally. Lots of ways to volunteer. I'd always done like canned food drives. I was in like bad punk rock bands, and we did like canned food drives for pantries and
cool.
and all kinds of fundraisers and donated blood and that kind of thing even before my current job. And so there's lots of ways I think my family told me to reminded me to give back if you could. We never had a lot, but it was I know that there was a lot of folks that helped us out, and so all those things kind of combined in my own drive to make an impact if I could on someone's life led me to the experience and the relationship that I was able to have through Big Brothers with Ham and his family.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel so often when I'm out in the community talking with people, I always kind of describe it as a difference between a la carte volunteering, which is like you can go and help out in a kitchen, or you can go help up, clean up the neighborhood with like trash pickup and stuff. And those are all very great ways to impact your community, but they kind of start and stop on the same day, right? And you can do those things repetitively and still have a very big impact. But something like this that develops over time is, I think, really important, where it's not just something that's beginning and ending each day. It's something that evolves and that changes. And I think that can have a lot of impact.
Yeah, if it works well, and I think it worked well in my experience, it became something where I watched, you watch someone from the age of 11 to the age of 18. I mean, those are some significant years, right? And so I got to see like first crushes. I helped to teach him how to drive, which was kind of amazing. I thought of my own father, my experience with my own father. Ham's father was kind of in and out of his life, and for a number of reasons there. And so I was able to kind of step in and do that. But I thought of my own dad. My dad trying to teach me how to drive. So reflected on some lessons there of getting yelled at by trying to learn stick in a back parking lot of an ice cream factory. But with Ham, it was he is this rare type who I think wanted his license more than he wanted a cell phone. So I think he might be kind of a last of a generation, a little bit of a car geek, and he's still that way. But just you think about those milestone rites of passage and those a la carte kind of volunteer experiences. They're great. They're essential in our communities. But if you are looking for something where you kind of get that deeper, profound impact on kind of what you can offer to someone at a really crucial part in their life and what they can bring to you. I mean, I felt like I became an actual adult over that time too, into my late 20s and into my 30s there. I think Big Brothers is a really distinct experience there. You got to put in the time, you got to put in the energy, and you got to be open and flexible. But it really is an overwhelming and lasting impact it can have on your life.
Absolutely. And how often would you say that you, and I'm sure this changed over time, but how often would you say that you connected with your little brother?
Right. Tried it. We kind of made an arrangement where it was at least 2 to 3 times a month. Some months were more. I think, the summertime into the wintertime, I think we found more opportunities. And it changed, it was interesting. I think, it was kind of more activity based. I think when he was younger, so thinking like 11 through 14, when he got to high school, it really became kind of being there at his events, basketball and football, and when he wrote a poem about cake one time, and they did a reading of the poem, and then more of a thing. it was less like we had to come up with something to do. I think that's some struggle that some folks might have where, Big Brothers gives you a short list of stuff, but you got to get to give some autonomy of the match you have to let them tell you what you want to do. So yes, we went bowling. Yes, we took advantage of a lot of Big Brothers programs. I'd say one in particular, they gave us tickets to Road America, which in Wisconsin, they have F1 racing, which was amazing.
Very
and so
cool.
Trying to take advantage of those opportunities. We both were big into basketball, so watch the Bucks. No shade to the Pistons fans out here, but watch the Bucks, a really great Bucks team kind of come into their own and got to be up and close. They're great supporters of Big Brothers and got to meet some of the players and stuff. And so, yes, there were those event things, but I think the things I cherish just as much, if not more, into his teen years were those kind of moments of going out to get a cheeseburger and talking, talking about life and kind of where he wanted to go, and trying to give him advice from my own life, which I think I've taken somewhat of a circuitous path from being a teenager to becoming whatever I am now in my 40s. And so, knowing you can find those moments and it doesn't, you don't have to overthink it. You kind of have to meet the kid where they're at, and they'll let you know, and you can kind of take it from there. So yeah, a couple times a week, and it looked different, or a couple times a month, but it looked different every month. But I think we both appreciated that.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, it sounds like you had a positive experience with it. What were the things maybe throughout, a year, 2 years in? Was there ever a moment that you said, this is something I want to do indefinitely? I mean, oftentimes for our volunteers, we expect that there's a minimum relationship for about a year, and we can have successful closures beyond that. But what was the thing that kind of led you to stick with this program for so many years?
I think it was a couple of things. The family, the Toro family, Marina, especially the mother, really welcomed me and my family into their lives. We just became part of their life. And like you said, I still have a relationship with Ham. I ran into Marina and her boyfriend out at dinner, and we had dinner and drinks. And so they welcomed me and I think understood that I wasn't there to try to replace a father figure. I wasn't there to try to replace their awesome existing biological big brother who was off doing big brother off doing great work all around the world with his family. I was just there to kind of compliment and to help where I could. And they welcomed that and really embraced that. So that was a big part of it. And I think the other thing there is just that you kind of have to make sure that you're there for them and kind of pushing for what you can offer and the time you make. And so I was never shy about I've got these times, these days available. We've got these things. And as things you have to be flexible with that things can and will change. But that the relationship is going to evolve over time, and just being open to that. I think those are the things that kind of locked in, that the reward and the benefit evolved and grew over the years because of kind of that openness and us kind of being real. I think Ham was always real to me, and I could have real talk with him, which I think teenagers appreciate. As much as there's obviously parameters of being respectful and understanding where there could be challenges and issues that need. I'm not there to replace a parent, but there is something where to see and hear from an adult who is spending the time. But can talk with them honestly. Ham always gave that back to me and appreciated that. And I mean, just in frankness, when he turned 21, him and his brother, I got to go out with them. And this is after the match formally ended, of course. And they made me cry because they told me that showing up and being there for them was what they needed. And I kind of, part of it, I maybe diminished that impact for them. I knew what it did for me, but you don't always know for sure. Yeah. And he's, in that position at 21, becoming a man of his own right. He's got his own family now, and hearing that from him just bowled me over, and is something that I cherish.
Yeah, I feel so often people can think that any kind of volunteering is a full sacrifice of themselves where you're not getting anything in return, where it's, I'm going to spend my afternoon doing this and it'll be uncomfortable, but I know I'm doing something good for the community. And so that's what makes it okay. But the more I talk with matches and the more I get to know this organization, and the more I, develop as a big brother myself, the more it just becomes so overwhelmingly obvious that it is an opportunity to get so much back as an individual as well.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a piece of advice. It's okay to be like morally selfish here. Like that is all right. Like you are doing this for a reason. Like, don't be shy about that. This isn't something where you're like, it's not like you're adding something on a resume or trying to be like vampiric about it. But like, honestly, like I definitely went into it wanting and needing some outside perspective and some connection to life outside of my own. And I got that and more.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break, let the listeners know what's going on with our agency right now. And then when we get back, we'll dive into a little bit more of what advice you might have for people.
Awesome.
Thanks. Interested in joining the Big Brothers Big Sisters community? Here in Southwest Michigan, we have a wide range of programs designed to engage your interest and accommodate your schedule. Your drive to give back to the youth of your community is all that's needed, with free passes to local events, curated activities, and the flexibility to engage anytime. From weekends to weeknights to lunch breaks, there is a place for you here. For more information, head to thinkbigtoday.org. Pizza with a purpose? Yes, please. Order BC Pizza from their Kalamazoo location on Wednesdays between 4 and 8 p.m. and 30% of your orders total will go to our agency with zero extra cost to you. Just be sure to select or mention Big Brothers Big Sisters as your fundraiser when ordering. Welcome back. Now, obviously, advice is an important aspect here. We want people to know whether they're currently bigs or they're on the fence about it, to get something that they can walk away with it.
Yeah.
And so I've got some rapid fire questions. Coming back from break, we do a little bit of a little mini game here before we get back into our conversation. So I've got about 20 questions here that I encourage you to answer top of mind as fast as you can. And we'll just move right on to the next one.
You got it. I'll do my best.
Wonderful. All right. What is your favorite season?
Summer.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Read minds.
What's something that you're proud of that you've accomplished?
Being a big.
Fair enough. What's something that you're really passionate about?
Buffalo Bills football.
There you go. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be?
Octopus.
What's your favorite way to spend a weekend?
What I call this and that. So basically anything artistic.
Okay. What's a mistake that you've learned from? Top of mind.
Don't doubt yourself.
Okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
I would go to Easter Island.
All right. If you could have any job in the world, what would it be?
No job.
No job. What's a book or movie that you recommend?
I just was recommending Paris is Burning to some coworkers. A great documentary about the Vogue culture in New York in the late 1980s.
Very cool. What's your favorite thing about your current job?
That I directly get to help people in need.
All right. And what's your favorite type of music?
Usually very loud, obnoxious music.
All right. And what's a skill that you'd love to learn?
Another language.
What are you grateful for today?
Other people dedicating their time and energy to me.
What is your favorite board game?
Probably Scrabble.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Fried chicken.
What's a memory that makes you smile?
Memory makes me smile. Going to the Lake Erie, the beach.
And if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Rice and beans?
Rice and beans? Oh, that's not fun. I mean, it's practical, but
I mean, I'm trying to live here.
That's all of our rapid fire questions
here.
I
yeah.
appreciate you calibrating your brain.
Yeah.
Going back into getting to know you a little bit better and your experience with the program, Every mentor is unique, and so often people think that their hesitance to participate comes from them thinking that they're not qualified to be a big, and that there's this assumption that I have to be a therapist or a teacher or a counselor in some way if I'm going to actually be a good big. That is certainly not the case, but every one of our mentors, on top of being well-meaning and excited to participate in the program, does have things that make them a good mentor. What are some things that you think qualifies you to be a good mentor?
I think for years I was a journalist, and part of that job is storytelling, right? And to be a good storyteller, you have to be an active listener. And so I try my damnedest. I am a chatty person, and I'm a talker. But I do really try to actively listen, especially when someone is offering something of themselves. And so I think that active listening is really essential. Again, that's where I found what activities or that side of things would work well with in the relationship, as well as what you didn't need to stress about, and kind of finding that spot in between of meeting your match. And so I would say active listening would be really big. I think empathy is huge. You know, we are coming in this role. You are coming to someone at a point in their life that is going to have radical change, and it is very likely that there is a lot of other things that may be going on in their life, where you're not the central focus, and you can't fix a lot of things, but you can care, and you can be an empathetic person to them, and what that means in action could be a lot of things, but just merely being empathetic from the start would be huge. So active listening and empathy, and then I think I think there's an aspect of kind of you have to be kind of community minded. I think there's something about this type of volunteerism that you have to understand that there's not maybe some immediate reward or return.
I love that. What are some misconceptions that either people in your own life or you just think people in general might have about your match specifically, or just the program in general?
Don't think someone else is going to do it. There's an incredible, there's a dearth of volunteerism, period, in America. And so I think if you have the time and energy, that reward, that'll come. But I think don't make the assumption that someone else is going to step in and be that person in someone else's life. If you're ready to do it, take the step and try.
I love that. So often when I speak to people about volunteering in general, which I'm very passionate about, sometimes it might surprise them that I usually end a lot of my presentations or, the little pitches that you give people about the program with, everyone should be doing something, right? And if the long form volunteering that's youth-based isn't for someone, then find what is you're passionate about.
Absolutely.
And find those opportunities to give back. So often there's so many, especially in Kalamazoo, but in every city as well, there are so many amazing nonprofits that if everyone gave 2 hours a month even to an organization that they're passionate about, we'd all be overflowing with volunteers. And obviously part of my position is to encourage people who think that Big Brothers Big Sisters is a good place for them, to help them find their place here. And so many people have positive experiences with it, but just doing something. And I love that, someone else isn't going to do it, and that there's always work to be done.
Yeah. I mean, so this part of Michigan, especially Kalamazoo into Battle Creek, there is an outsized number of agencies that are there to help folks. Mm-hmm. And so you can be part of that impact, but yeah, again, don't think someone else is stepping in to do it. If you have the time and energy, make it a priority in your life.
Absolutely. And I know some of our matches and people who volunteer with us will listen to this as well, myself included, as being a big brother, only about 3 months into the process. What kind of advice do you have for people that's just starting out in the program? Like you said, it's very activity-based, or, you're still getting to know each other. Describe that experience.
I think, like sticking with it and letting some of your guard down there is a big thing. I think I'd say for folks. Because I don't know what it is, but it feels like there's something societal or nurture there. I can't really pinpoint, but that's how I always felt kind of in the room. And I had to, in my own self, I had to kind of just like be open and vulnerable to whatever connecting with a family and being empathetic meant. Because again, it was invaluable what I kind of got back in that relationship and got to be part of a family and their life, again, not as a replacement in any way.
You know, when it's been 2 or 3 years,
Sure.
what does that look like as far as, you know, your own perception of it? It's people that might be in a similar situation at that point where they've been in the program for a little while.
Oh, yeah, yes.
What advice would you give to someone maybe on the back end of a match?
Yeah, that you are you're hoping to set someone up for you know what, I guess the hokey word might be success, but you're helping to like really someone's launching off to whatever their life's going to be. I think the thing I came back to with Ham a lot of times is that I don't know, this is for me, but I think like there is an undue amount of pressure for young people to know what the heck they're going to do for the rest of their life the day they turned 18. Mm-hmm. And in fact, years before that, I never tried to put that on him. I said, I've taken lots of twists and turns in my personal and professional life. That'll probably happen to you too. And so just be honest with yourself and keep trying. Those are the things I tried to impart on him. But I think in that relationship, you have to kind of be in that spot of you put yourself in their shoes, in their family's shoes when they were, you know, in their preteens into their early teens. Then when you get to that later part of the teens, you're switching shoes, right? Like you don't keep the same shoes the rest of your life. I'm going to follow a corny metaphor here. And so you're trying on you're wearing some different shoes there. And you are, hoping to give them whatever you can into that adulthood that you know, ask yourself that question, what do you wish someone would have told you when you're 16 years old, right? I thought about that a lot, and I thought about kind of the patience and grace that I think all teenagers deserve. Because they live in a world I can't fathom.
Well, I try to ask all of our bigs that come on here the same question at the end. There's someone listening in who's on the fence about volunteering. What would you say to them?
I would say that if you are looking for a distinct way to bring like a incredible perspective and a wider lens view of your community and your world through a connection with another person and really their family, that the big mentoring experience is unlike anything else. It is something that stays with me, that I look back on. That is a relationship that has grown into a friendship, and it was only possible through the time to make the time to care and to give back. It's been nothing but I have nothing but gratitude, and so if you're looking for something that will be a little selfish, it's okay to have that kind of reward, but know that you are absolutely you have the potential to really impact someone's life, even just by getting through life, which is the hardest job of all.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, thank you so much for talking with me today. It's been a blast getting to know you. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
Do some homework, ask some questions, ask people that have done it in your own life, and they'll tell you the same.
I love it. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we will be back next month with another episode. Thank you. For more information about Big Brothers Big Sisters and what is happening in your community, head to thinkbigtoday.org. Becoming big would not be possible without the support of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan and the resources found in the Public Media Network of Kalamazoo.